It is estimated that from the late 1800s and through the early 20th century, 22 million immigrants entered the country through Ellis Island in New York. During this time, Ellis Island was the main entry point for those looking to immigrate to the United States. Just like an assembly line, immigrants will walk up a steep staircase as immigration officers position themselves strategically to be able to view people from different angles. From a distance of approximately 25 feet, agents will look at a person's posture, a movement of the head, or the appearance of the ears. Officers are looking for signs of blindness, deafness, and indicators of disease. Immigrants were categorized based on health and physical ability. The Act of 1882 was the first major immigration law that targeted anyone considered to be a public charge. Those individuals considered to be a lunatic, idiot, or someone who could not take care of himself or herself were excluded immediately. The Act of 1891 implemented the phrase likely to become a public charge, and the Immigration Act of 1907 required a medical certificate for those considered to be mentally or physically defective and could not earn a living. Viewed as people bringing illness, deformity, insanity, and criminality to the U.S., disabled immigrants coming from Europe were received at Ellis Island with a sentiment of being dangerous and undesirable. During that time, the United States was positioning itself as a political and economic power, and with that, the feelings behind Manifest Destiny became racially charged. It was no longer about territory or establishing the Western civilization, but about racial preservation. This sentiment was expressed by the former chief of the Bureau of Statistics and superintendent of the census, General Francis Walker. Ellis Island became a place where this ideology was put into practice. Agents increasingly found new ways to discriminate against immigrants that did not fit their ideal physical and racial profile, and created a host of categories that labeled them unworthy of residence in the United States. Agents marked immigrants with child codes, with bearing letters designating disease, disability, or even suspected unintelligence. It was not uncommon for immigrants to advance through the halls with their clothing showing these chalk marks. Some of the categories included, but were not limited to, insanity and the feeble-minded, epilepsy, diseases such as tuberculosis, syphilis, and leprosy, blindness, deafness, and physical deformities. Ellis Island was designed to process the immigrant body through an industrialized choreography, through a regime of vision, and through layers of anti-immigration discourse. During this time, other pro-eugenics groups and societies began to form and gain influence. The Eugenics Records Office, or the ERO, wished to play a major role in protecting the nation from the untrammeled reproduction of the genetically unfit. Two of the ways they attempted to accomplish their goal was to influence the passage of sterilization laws in the country, as well as immigration restrictions. The Immigration Restriction League was also successful in their mission, as they passed immigration restrictions in 1924 that were upheld until the 1960s. Racial preservation was a goal of these anti-immigration policies and eugenic practices. Another was to stop the overwhelming number of immigrants from non-Teutonic places of origin, those of Italian, Jewish, Polish, or Serbian descent, among others, who will be able to fill roles in farming and industrial labor and outnumber the birth rate of Anglo-Saxon citizens. Eastern Jews also suffer from eugenic practices when immigrating into the United States. They were considered to be of undesirable national origin and were forced to jump through numerous obstacles in order to be admitted into the United States. These obstacles included having to own proof of identity, medical documentation, and exit permits before a visa will be issued. In 1924, the Johnson-Reed Act already limited the number of immigrant visas that were issued per country. These quotas were designed to limit the immigration of people considered racially undesirable, including Southern and Eastern European Jews. The US government made no exceptions for refugees escaping persecution, and did not adjust the immigration laws in the 1930s or 1940s. The waiting list for US immigrant visas grew as hundreds of thousands of Jews attempted to flee Europe. One example of the United States denying entry to a large group of Eastern European Jews was the 1939 voyage of the St. Louis. The transatlantic liner sailed from Hamburg, Germany to Havana, Cuba, carrying 939 passengers. After entry was denied into Cuba, the ship was rerouted to the United States in Miami, Florida. However, all were denied entry since they lacked entry visas to the United States. The liner returned to Germany, and of the 937 St. Louis passengers, 254 became prisoners of Nazi encampments and were murdered in the Holocaust. As U.S. immigration policies continue today to call into question the disability status of individuals, the journey of the disabled immigrant will continue to be much difficult than of the non-disabled immigrant. The current administration immigration policies that are looking to demonize refugees, deter, and separate families at the border are reinforcing a system that has created more disabled individuals by exposing immigrants to trauma, abuse, and harsh detention conditions. In addition to these enforcement tactics, the current administration is putting in place more legal barriers to immigration of individuals who immigration officials believe may use public services such as Medicaid. These laws disproportionately impact immigrants with disabilities. The physical dangers and negligence that immigrants with disabilities are subject to in the United States needs a broader platform for the analysis and discourse of what's needed to create immigration policies that exclude practices of discrimination on the basis of disability, race, gender, and sexuality. Thus, there is a desperate need to eradicate immigration policies that flirt with eugenics.